Welcome back to What's the 411 News, where we bring you news observation, interpretation, and news commentary from an FBA and BGR perspective. Let's get it. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to What's the 411 News. And you guys see it on the screen right now. Biden and the crew, the usual suspects, as Nearly Fuller Jr. would say. The usual suspects are empowering Hispanics from the border. All right? I don't want you guys to get tricked by what they're putting out on the news, saying that, the Biden administration is trying to work on the illegal alien immigrant problem. That's just all a ploy because they can bring all these things up later or at some point to say that, hey, look, we really was trying to take care of this situation. They knew it was going to be a problem way back when Biden's so-called leaked Zoom meeting, when Biden stated specifically that black people would have to get with the Hispanics. And then after he said that, not too long after that, Hispanics started coming across the border and flooding cities out. Now there's black people and white people who don't want them in their towns, in their cities, in their streets, the white folks, that is. They having an issue with it. And so now it's like, there's certain white folks, especially when I heard about Staten Island, that they don't really want them in their part of town. They cool with having them in black people's cities or majority black cities or streets, if you will. They cool with that. But since the Biden administration started noticing, oh, wait a minute, not only black people are beefing about it, there's some white folks too. We don't want to have that problem. So now they're going to make it look as though they're trying to handle the situation. But make no mistake about it, Biden and the usual suspects, his crew, are empowering Hispanics from the border. All right. So with that being said, let's take a look at this situation right here. All right. Let's take a look at it. So the Biden administration to offer temporary protections to nearly 500,000 Venezuelans. So they want to give protections. They say temporary, but come on, man. You already know what time it is. They saying temporary protections for nearly 500,000 Venezuelans. You still not going to take care of the people who built this country, huh? You still going to overlook the people who built this country while you take care of people who have no history of building the country, no history of having a respect for the people who built this country, the foundational Black Americans. But you're going to keep on doing that, and everything is going to keep on falling and falling and falling because you're not taking care of the people in your own house. All right. The Biden administration is granting temporary legal status to 472,000 Venezuelan migrants who are already in the U.S., a major step toward aiding asylum seekers, as asylum seekers is code word. They're not asylum seekers. I still don't know what's going on in these other countries that everybody has to come over here. Nobody really says anything about that, or I haven't heard it. But anyway, the Biden administration is granting temporary legal status to 472,000 Venezuelan migrants who are already in the U.S., a major step toward aiding asylum seekers as the number of migrants at the southern border is on the rise again. All right. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, citing political, keep these people's names in mind too. Write these names down, research them, research their background, research what they stand for, so you can be knowledgeable about who you're dealing with. But Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, citing political instability in Venezuela, preventing the safe return of migrants, extended the temporary protected status designation by 18 months for Venezuelan migrants who arrived in the U.S. this year prior to July 31st. The move was applauded by Democrats who have pushed the White House to do more to help migrants seeking asylum, and blasted by congressional Republicans from Texas who accused the Biden administration of further inflaming unrest at the border. So the Democrats applauded that, huh? Okay. How many of y'all gonna vote Democrat? The Biden administration is making the border invasion worse. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, said in a statement, the news will incentivize even more illegal aliens from Venezuela to come. The action allows eligible Venezuelan migrants to work in the U.S. and adds to the 242,700 Venezuelans who already qualify for temporary protected status before Wednesday's announcement. Mayorkas said Venezuelan migrants who arrived after July 31st will be removed from the U.S. if they don't have a legal basis to stay. Other moves target border work permits. A political, economic, and humanitarian crisis in Venezuela over the past decade has pushed at least 7.3 million people to migrate, mostly to neighboring Latin American countries, but more recently to the U.S. Many have made their journeys through the dangerous Darien Gap, a remote jungle between Colombia and Panama that is treacherous and often deadly. The Biden administration also announced the deployment of an additional 800 military personnel to the southern border and touted escalated efforts to prosecute individuals smuggling drugs or persons into the U.S. In another significant change praised by immigrant advocates, the Homeland Security Department extended the validity of work permits for asylum seekers from 2 years to 5, erasing the financial hardship of paying $410 each renewal and reducing the department's enormous backlog of applicants. So looks like they're saying, they kind of reducing the money that these illegal aliens coming over will have to pay, if I'm understanding that correctly. And it also will help them having so much backlog. Interesting trade-off, huh? People need to be able to work while they wait for their asylum application to be processed, said Conchita Cruz, co-executive director of the Asylum Seeker Advocacy Project. Now, I wonder if Conchita Cruz is related to Ted Cruz, because I think Ted Cruz is having an issue about them coming over here. But Conchita Cruz, who is the co-executive director of the Asylum Seeker Advocacy, says people need to be able to work while they wait for their asylum application. I wonder if there's a connection between the two cruises there, one against it, one for it. Interesting. In some cases, that could take up to a decade, Apprehensions at the U.S.-Mexico border increased in July and August after initially dropping sharply in May and June after heading to the U.S. border to first seek protection in Mexico. President Joe Biden adopted the rule following the expiration of Title 42, a COVID-19 pandemic policy that allowed the U.S. to cite fears of spreading the virus as a reason to expel migrants. So now President Joe Biden adopted the rule following the expiration of Title 42. Keep that in mind. Keep that in your notes. Title 42, which is a COVID-19 pandemic policy that allowed the U.S. to cite fears of spreading the virus as a reason to expel migrants. So with Title 42, they could have said, no, we fear that you guys are going to come over here and give us COVID-19 or maybe other diseases. So now we can't let you come over. But that is expired, right? So the border town of Eagle Pass, Texas, on Wednesday announced a state of emergency after nearly 6,000 migrants, illegal aliens, crossed the Rio Grande River from Mexico over a 2-day period. Democratic mayors, governors praise action. The White House has faced recent pressure from Democratic mayors from major U.S. cities, including New York Mayor Eric Adams, and governors to take action to allow newly illegal aliens to work legally. In New York City, more than 116,000 so-called asylum seekers have arrived since the spring of 2022. Eric Adams, who said he spoke to the White House Wednesday about the announcement, called the action an important step that will bring hope to the thousands of Venezuelan asylum seekers currently in our care. So Eric Adams says it's an important step that will bring hope to the Venezuelans, but not the people that already are legally supposed to be there, specifically Black Americans. Interesting. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, or Hochul, however you want to pronounce it, a Democrat, also applauded the move. So she was with it too, saying she is grateful the Biden administration acted so speedily to grant one of New York's top priority, but adding there's more work to do to address the migrant crisis, the illegal alien invasion crisis. The state of New York is prepared to immediately begin the process of signing people up for work authorization and getting them into jobs so they can become self-sufficient, Hochul said. Like Cruz, Senator John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, slammed the granting of temporary status to Venezuelans. When Biden tells migrants do not come to the U.S. and then creates a magnet like work permits, it undermines all deterrence, Cornyn said. Formerly known as Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. He said this on Twitter, all right? White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, the Haitian lady, said the administration would prefer to address surging migration in a bipartisan way with the help of Republicans, but added, right now, we are doing it in the best way that we can. Temporary protected status, or TPS, has long been a contentious partisan issue, with Republican critics arguing a temporary designation should not become a permanent immigration program. For years, Congress has feuded over granting temporary protected status to Venezuelans while trying to end the program in countries such as Haiti, Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. Former President Donald Trump attempted to end the designation for those countries, but that effort was tied up in court. But on his very last day in office, Trump conceded and was the first to grant TPS, temporary protected status, to Venezuelans. Y'all keep that in mind as well. Keep that in mind for those who are feeling Trump. Notice that, all right? Notice that. He attempted to end the designation for the countries, but that effort was tied up in court. But on his very last day in office, Trump decided and conceded and was the first to grant temporary protected status to Venezuelans, according to this article. All right? That's something to jot down and keep in your memory banks. For those who are so saying that he's so down for, removing immigrants out the country because there's too much of them flooding the country. Now, if Trump becomes president, he might flip that and get rid of everybody again. But keep in mind that, according to this article here, he was down for granting Venezuelans temporary protected status. All right. So in June, the Biden administration reversed the Trump era termination of other nationalities. A minority of Republicans in the Florida delegation, including Senator Marco Rubio and Representative Mario Diaz-Balart, have previously expressed supporting for granting temporary legal protection to Venezuelans. What is this deal about Venezuelans? Everybody's wanting Venezuelans to be up in here. What is up with that? Rubio's office did not respond to a request for comment on the Biden administration's move. Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, a Democrat, commended the Biden administration for taking steps to allow hundreds of thousands of families who arrived fleeing so-called dictatorship. They fled, fleeing. They didn't fight. They didn't stay there and fight the so-called dictatorship, and seeking freedom and opportunity to build new lives and contribute to our community. Yeah. For what I'm hearing, their contributions is of a criminal nature, from what I'm hearing. All right. So you guys let me know what you think about this one. Hopefully we broke it down clearly enough so y'all know what time it is and know what's going on, and to help you make better decisions when it comes to this voting situation. All right. So we appreciate y'all as always. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also available on YouTube. YouTube, yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and we also are on Spotify for you Spotify subscribers. So with that being said, this is What's the 411 News, and we will be back again with more news. We out of here. Peace. Welcome back to What's the 411 News, where we bring you news observation, interpretation, and news commentary from an FBA and BGR perspective. Let's get it.